who wants to take part in the cloud competition, they are kindly requested when they come to the dice, they should be requested to write their names. So is there anyone who wants to take part in cloud competitions? I request them to come to the stage and shake hands.
मोबाइल में बहुत से
ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا.
With our request, Basil Bajas have to please.
أعوذ بالله من
I will request Atik and myself, please. Is there any other Khadim who take one club? They are requested to please come to the stage and give the names. And I request Khatib and myself to please come to the dais.
ask Lavid, any father wants to take part. In that case, then we start with the Azan. Anyone who wants to take part in the open competition, you can do any Azan you wish. And there are some excerpts here as well. On stage you can read from. They are in Futuh. No transliteration, I'm afraid, but there are some Urdu Azans you can read from the stage. So if you want to take part in that, please just come up and do so.
Our teams have to please select the topic and prepare the speech.
The basis of my topic is based on some judges into the panel. It's all honest brothers. The topic that I was given was my experience with the Baitul Jamaat. Well, first of all, you can always talk about what a Jamaat is, and in fact, we're sitting as a Jamaat here together as well. Experience-wise, if you talk about Jamaat, you can say that it brings the community together, brotherhood, also creating activities, and also it brings the whole community together on a basis. My experience, especially, is the fact that it gets you more involved with being with the community and as a whole creating events such as the Ijtema today. As Hazrat Masih once mentioned, as a revelation, I should cause thy message to reach the four corners of the earth. As a Jamaat, if you look at it as a Jamaat kind of view, you can say that as a community, if we are a larger community, if we are a Jamaat, if we are a bigger Jamaat, we can help this revelation to succeed further. And as you can see that we have the regional Ijtemas, local Ijtemas, and especially the national Ijtemas. This is all on the basis of just bringing this Jamaat together.
Judges. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. मुझे जो टॉपिक दिया गया है वो है फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच यानी आज़ादी राय। तो इस सिलसिले में मुझे हज़रत मसीह अलैहिस्सलाम का शेर याद आ गया कि हर तरफ आवाज़ देना है हमारा काम आज, जिसकी फितरत नेक है वो आएगा अंजाम कार। तो असल में हज़रत मसीह अलैहिस्सलाम का तो हमें पैगाम ये है कि हमने जो पैगाम उनकी तरफ आया है, जो कि असल में रसूल पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की तरफ से आया है, वो हमने आगे पहुँचाना है। लेकिन हमारी और हमारे मुल्क की बदकिस्मती ये है कि हम पर ऐसी पाबंदियाँ लगा दी गई और हमारा जो पैगाम है यानी हमारी जो आज़ादी राय है उसको हर लिहाज से बंद करने की उन्होंने नाकाम कोशिश की। लेकिन ये महज अल्लाह ताला का फ़ज़ल था और खलीफा वक्त की और मतलब जमात की दुआओं की ये बरकत थी कि खुदा ताला ने उनको सुना। और जो असल में तो ये एक इल्हाम था जो पूरा होना था कि मैं तेरी तबलीग को ज़मीन के किनारों तक पहुँचाऊँगा। तो जो आवाज़ को उन्होंने दबाने की कोशिश की वो महज अल्लाह ताला ने अपने फ़ज़ल से हमें पूरी दुनिया में आज फैलाने की तौफ़ीक दे रहा है। तो उसमें अभी उन्होंने अपनी तरफ से तो बहुत कोशिश की कि हमारी आवाज़ को हर लिहाज से दबाया जाए, मतलब बिल्कुल हर लिहाज से पाबंद किया हुआ है। हमारे अखबार वगैरह, हमारे रसाइल, हमारे इज्तिमात, हर चीज़ को उन्होंने अपनी ज़ोर ज़बरदस्ती से और कानून के शय में रहते हुए बंद करने की कोशिश की। लेकिन अल्लाह ताला का ये एहसान है कि जमात को अपना पैगाम जो है वो पूरी दुनिया में पहुँचाने की तौफ़ीक मिल रही है।
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The topic that has been given to me is the behavior of an Ahmadi Khadim. First of all, we should keep in mind who is an Ahmadi Khadim. Ahmadi Khadim is a person who accepts Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam as Imam Mahdi and who follows the principles of Jamaat and the teachings of Jamaat Ahmadiyya. Hazrat Futuh made the different organization within the Jamaat, Ansar, Hudam, Tajna and Atfalul Ahmadiyya. The age group from 15 to 40 years, those are called Hudam. And an individual within the organization of Hudam al-Ahmadiyya is called. When we think about the behavior of an Ahmadi Khadim, we should keep in mind what are the teachings of Jamaat, what the Hazrat Imam Mahdi, Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam has taught to the Jamaat to behave, and what the Khalifatul Masih expects from an Ahmadi Khadim. The Jamaat expect from an Ahmadi Khadim total obedience. We should abide by the teachings of Hazur, should abide by the teachings of Jamaat and Islam. The first, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rahimahullah has taught the Ahmadis what should be their behavior. They are called the 5 basic teachings. And of honesty, truthfulness, hard worker, and passionate, these are the few of them. And also, an Ahmadi Khadim should set an example for other people, for the other youths of the community and the country, especially when we are living in Europe and when we see in other communities and within our culture, the culture of the Britain or the Europe, we see that there are very different evil. Thank you.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected judges and fellow Khudam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I've also been given the topic freedom of speech. Now this is a very interesting topic. It's something that's very topical at the moment as well, given recent events. I think if we step back, there's many freedoms that we have been given, or rather that it is generally believed that people should have these freedoms. There's freedom of life, liberty, freedom to acquire property, freedom to gather, freedom to choose any religion one so chooses. And there's also the freedom of speech, which is the freedom of expression, your ability to say anything that you like. Now, on the principle, it seems very fair and very easy to understand and difficult to disagree with this concept. And certainly, from an Islamic point of view as well, Islam is also a religion that believes in freedom. In the Holy Quran, it says, "Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim, la ikraha fid din." There is no compulsion in religion, and this principle extends generally as well. Now, this freedom of speech is particularly interesting because it's one of those freedoms where sometimes different types of freedom run into conflict with each other, and you have to balance the priorities. Now recently we heard this in our experience at Jamaat as well. There was this incident in a university where a certain society published offensive cartoons. Now there they were hiding under this same principle of freedom of speech, but there it conflicted with people's right to respect. So there, sometimes you do have to draw a line, and that's where freedom of speech has to be limited to the extent that you're not disrespecting other people.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My topic is the topic that Basil was given, your experience with Baitul Jamaat. My experience with Baitul Jamaat started in 2005 when I moved to Morden, near Abbotsbury Road, near Liddell. Since I joined the Jamaat, I had always that there was a certain tranquility within the Jamaat that you just couldn't get where I used to live before in Gillingham. Of course, the Jamaat over there was quite big and quite active as well, but having the biggest mosque in Western Europe within 5 minutes walk was a big blessing for me. I started off with playing badminton here every other night, and it again gave me that tranquility, and something that tranquility is a quality of my character that I can say to non-Ahmadis that this quality I have has developed through the Jamaat. Now, developing this quality through the Jamaat of tranquility, now developing a quality within the Jamaat of having these certain characteristics within your character, that you're an honest person and you can still be a positive person. It is not like, for example, you are strictly bound by the do's and don'ts of religion, as you may see in non-Ahmadis, whereby they may simply say something is either halal. Now, something in your experience with Baitul Jamaat is that you experience life with your fellow Ahmadis. Now, when you experience life with your fellow Ahmadis in the best teaching of Islam, which is Ahmadiyyat, then you find that your character reflects that positivity. Now, I've had the blessing of being in children's class with Khalifa Rabi, and since then, I can surely say that being in these classes, having the opportunity to also be in Chinese classes, when I used to go 10 years ago in the Jamaat,
जिसने भी नज़म में तिलावत में किसी चीज़ में भी हिस्सा लेना है अब ये भी ले लें, क्योंकि फिर इसके बाद स्पोर्ट्स स्टार्ट हो जानी है। तो कोई रह गया है, कोई शामिल होना चाहता है, तो अब ये भी शामिल हो जाए उसमें।
कलाम महमूद में से मैं बताऊँ तो मैं क्या चाहता हूँ। बताऊँ तुम्हें क्या चाहता हूँ बंदा मगर मैं खुदा चाहता हूँ। मैं अपने शाखाना दिल की खातिर वफाओं के खालिक वफा चाहता हूँ, जो फिर से हरा कर दे हर खुश्क पौधा चमन के लिए वो सुबह चाहता हूँ। मुझे बैर हरगिज़ नहीं है किसी से, मैं दुनिया में सबका भला चाहता हूँ।
Dear judges, my fellow Muslims, topic that I've been given is freedom of speech. I think the main concepts have already been covered, but I think freedom of speech, as has been said, is one very important part of Islam itself, because as says in the Quran, there is no compulsion in religion. So people obviously have the right to, the God-given right, you could say, to do whatever they want. And that is basically the principle of freedom of speech. But obviously there is a line that has to be drawn. And one example which was stated before was the cartoon which was published by a university of the two prophets, Jesus ﷺ and Muhammad ﷺ, having a beer together. And obviously it can be seen why this can be seen as offensive to Muslims. At the same time, you have people who have a hatred for this freedom of speech due to the fact that they think that it clashes with the whole sort of right to be respected. I mean, for example, I've seen a protest whereby a Muslim extremist, you could say, had a bigger sign saying, freedom of speech, go to hell. Now, by freedom of speech, he has the right to say that, so he's basically contradicting himself. And I think people often get confused as to the line between freedom of speech and offending someone. Zak.
We'll just give the judges a minute just to finalize the marks. Is there anyone else who wants to participate in Nazm, Tilawat, or even extempore speech? There are more topics to choose from. I'm not sure why everyone keeps choosing from the same topics. Must be because everyone keeps putting in the same place. But is there anyone else to do extempore speech? Okay, then in that case, we're about to begin the sports. Can I just request everyone to stay seated for now while the sports is being organised? And that is surely... Sorry. And also, if the judges have to say anything, then please do so now.
Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So I thought I would give some brief feedback on the speeches that were just given just a moment ago. I'll try and be very concise and succinct if I can. So the first thing that I was going to say is, in terms of giving a speech, that the most important thing is I feel, is taqwa. In particular, as we could put this, Friday talked a lot about taqwa, and I think that, in fact, this is the only method of doing anything successfully in this world, because you must fear Allah Ta'ala and not your audience. This is something very, very challenging to do. It's not something easy at all, and no matter how many speeches you give, you know, I'm meant to be good at speeches, I'm meant to be good at lecturing and these things. But it's a very innately human quality when you go before other human beings and they're all looking at you, just as now, that you feel tension inside and you'll feel worry and you'll feel concern. And I think we're meant to feel this way, I think we're programmed to. And the only thing that can rescue this rescue you from this sort of challenge that you face is fear of God, consciousness of God, and recognition of His presence with you. And so I think this is the most important thing in whatever we do. Secondly, in terms of speeches, I think the only thing that will lead to a successful speech is prayer. And when we did the UCL talk recently, which some brothers might have seen, the only thing that led to that being successful, I can say, for me anyway, quite affirmatively, was the prayers of the brothers that were taking part in, but in particular the prayers of Futuh. Because when we practiced, then we were entirely terrified. It was an incredibly scary experience. We were representing the Jamaat, going up, talking about a very important issue. And so it's incredibly stressful. But we were able to say things that were beyond our capacity and in a way which I've never been able to talk before. And I'm convinced that that is because of the prayers of the Khalifa of the time. May Allah strengthen his hand. Now to talk about presentation, methods and content. And the beauty of Islam is that it gives us all the answers to this. So firstly, posture is a very important thing. So when you're at the podium, and this is something which I don't practice what I preach, so even now you'll see that my spine isn't necessarily straight, so I'll try and do this. A very simple way to be persuasive is very simply just to stand there in a manner which is pleasing to look at. So obviously, even though it's very tempting to sort of to lean over, and I do it all the time, and it's just a continual jihad to just pull yourself back and just stand like this, and to do it is very important. And we'll see this from Huzu's posture. When he prays, he'll stand up and he'll be absolutely upright, and then he'll turn incredibly gracefully. And I think that you can see from this sort of approach to physical posturing that it's so important in terms of the message it reflects. So posture, and this is something given in the Quran, so it's something we should pay a lot of attention to. Audibility is very important, and the hadith referred to this a lot. There was the hadith of the companions were walking up the side of a mountain, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ was reciting Allahu Akbar. And he was reciting it gently and quietly. And then the companion started shouting it.